How about if I do a little? You should come up with a little jingle for this. Are you doing this on a regular basis?
We are. You want to do that for me, or I'm probably gonna have to pay you though, right after you?
Well, yeah, Joe. I mean, I don't work for free.
Well, I thought it'd be a community service. Though.
Yeah. My life is a community service. You understand? Radio in itself is a community service. So you know how lucky you are to do this job, and then we have to pay you on top of it.
So now this is, how's it sound? Pretty good. It sounded good when I was coming in this morning in the car.
Sounds terrible.
I know it doesn't really.
I know. I think it's okay.
Because this is the second time I've done a remote with you. I know the last one was pretty smooth. We were down in the city, Tim, and it was pretty impressive.
We're at Fox Studios in New York. Tim Reed, by the way, has made his way in. He's the guy that brings a lot of people here to the area. You don't do it personally, but you do it personally. It's a big deal,
absolutely.
The Boilermaker.
You know, I love being here. This has been a real, it feels like a New Hartford Love Fest. So you had Rich Sherman here. You had Coach Edick, who I had in New Hartford. He was a very, shall we say, hands-on gym teacher.
So you had him as a teacher?
I did.
Wow.
I did. And then I went to school with Chuck Sedella. We were both in the slow class together. So I graduated a couple years ahead of Chuck. So
we haven't seen Chuck yet, though. The Coach Edick said he thinks he's still.
Oh yeah, he's still checking his eyelids for holes.
Yeah.
I know.
So here we are at Daylight Donuts, and you're one of the people that the senator talked about as someone who makes a big difference in the area. And Joe, and you were referencing this to me, not only what the Boilermaker has done, but now you're physically going in to West Utica and making a difference over there, and I think that's a real big deal.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I think one of the things is that clearly West Utica is an area where there's a lot of challenges, and you either deal with it or you don't.
Right.
And it's certainly has been a little bit of a tough road to hoe in regards to it. But I'll tell you a funny story. There were a bunch of girls that were working in the community garden. We have an AmeriCorps volunteer. She's from Oregon. She was standing behind two of the girls, and it was hot.
Yeah.
It had to be 90 degrees. And
this week?
So they're working. Each one has their own plot that they work on. It's an above-ground garden. And these two girls are standing next to each other, and they don't realize this AmeriCorps volunteers behind them. And one of them says, "When is this going to end?" And the other one responds to her, "I hope it never ends."
Wow.
And, you hear that, and you think you've touched one person.
Yeah.
They're getting a chance to be able to see this is where food comes from. I've created this myself. This starts to create self-worth in people that sometimes might not feel so good about themselves.
Yeah.
So I love it. I got to say to Joe, and I haven't had a chance to be able to say to him yet, from a Boilermaker perspective, thank you for all that the state has done. We can't pull this event off just within the assets of the city of Utica. It has to be a federal, state, local thing that comes together, because it's awesome. There's very few races that do what we do. So.
And Tim, I appreciate that, but really it is you and the volunteers. It's Earl. It's people that had an idea and a vision and then have worked tirelessly. Jim Stantonitis. I mean, you just, everybody that's involved with that. I mean, I can start going off the names and you get in trouble, right?
It's true.
I can tell you something that Carl Eilenberg, you remember Carl Eilenberg?
I do.
And he's going to be back.
Actually, I ran a couple times. I'd run. All of a sudden, I'd come across Carl Eilenberg along the course.
And Carl was former mayor of Rome. He was the voice of the Orange at the Carrier Dome and at Manley Fieldhouse before that. Carl always said something when he was mayor that I thought was always stayed with me, and he talked about the sports community and athletics and the can-do attitude, and I think that's what you really epitomize at the Boilermaker. And he said, imagine if we could turn over, a lot of what we do to those type of positive thinkers, to those can-do personalities, and then there's nothing as a community that we're not able to accomplish and achieve, because you work together, you have drive and determination, you have a vision. So I applaud you and the Boilermaker, because that, I think, has inspired a lot of people. And we talked earlier, Rick Sherman talked about this great collaborative team that we have here. with the county executive and the assembly member, myself, working with the mayors. We work well together, and we're trying to get things done.
Right.
But really, you, I think, and the Boilermaker, it personifies that. And I appreciate that, and I applaud that, and I hope that that continues to catch on and continues to move forward, because that's what we need to inspire and motivate a community. You've done it. We appreciate it. We need to just keep it going in a lot of other areas.
Well, one of the things is, it's kind of funny, I've thought about it, is, we certainly seem to feel that we're in very turbulent times.
Yeah.
And you look at something about the race, I mean, we've dealt with, from a mayoral perspective, I laughed about it. I said if the race had started 1 year earlier, we would have had Ed Hanna twice. So, we've had Democrats, Republicans, whatever it is. The race is not about politics. The race is not about race. The race is purely about human endeavor, all of us together in regards to what we do. It's the most pure thing. I sometimes wish we can get ourselves a little bit back to that, to remind ourselves that we're all kind of in this leaky boat together. And
well, we talked about too how you said if every weekend, every week could be like Boilermaker Week in this area, and we are starting to get a feel like things are improving. I mean, Joe, we talked about the influx of cash in here. Your office alone has been involved in it's a little over $1 billion in financial injection here in the area, and it does feel like some of that Boilermaker excitement is bleeding into other weeks, which is big.
We have so much, and I think sometimes, Joe and I have certainly said it, sometimes we're our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
I love taking money from people from outside the state and from outside this area. It just makes my tail wag, and if there's ways to make people stay one more day in this community, okay, that's money that's going to be sold for gas. That's money that's going to be sold for groceries. That's going to put heads on beds. That's what it's all about.
Tim Reed from the Boilermaker. Anything you want to add there, Senator Griffo?
No, I think
I thought he was going to grill you today. That's what I was looking forward to.
Well, it is still July, so it's a grilling season. So
okay. All right.
But no, thanks, Tim. Appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for everything you're doing.
All right.
The Big 40's coming.
The big
This is a
four.
good,
We already
celebration.
got a lot of plans for it. It's going to be exciting.
Already planning.
Already planning.
And here we're not even out of July yet.
That's right.
That's a pretty awesome thing.
All right.
All right. I'm going to bring in, and you might not want to be here for this, Tim, but
I know
the senator has endorsed Donald Trump.
I know it.
It's time for the senator to come face to face with Trump.
I see his. Oh, Trump's coming.
Trump is going to be here face to face with the senator.
Excellent.
And I can only imagine what's about to happen.
All right.
We're going to break.
Oh, if the camera was on now.
I will never do this again with Keeler. That's what's going through his head right now. Hold on. We're coming right back. It's First News Keeler in the Morning, live at Daylight Donuts in New Hartford on WIBX.